board will now come to order. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderman True, Alderwoman Flowers, Alderman Bosley, Alderman Moore, Alderwoman Griffin, Alderwoman Triplett, Alderwoman Young, Alderman Conway, Alderman Ortman, Alderman Vollmer, Alderman Villa, Alderman Arnowitz, Alderman Wessels, Alderwoman Howard, Alderwoman Florida, Alderwoman Behringer, Alderman Rhodey, Alderman Kennedy, Alderwoman Davis, Alderman Schmid, Alderman French, Alderman Boyd, Alderman Vaccaro, Alderman Ogilvie, Alderman Cone, Alderman Williamson, Alderman Carter, Alderwoman Cruzen, President Reed.
Here.
Alderwoman Flowers, Alderwoman Triplett, Alderwoman Young, Alderman Conway, Alderman Wessels, Alderwoman Howard, Alderwoman Florida, Alderman Rhodey, Alderwoman Cruzen, 20 present.
Quorum being present, I'll ask everyone in the chambers and the galleries who's able to rise to please stand for prayer. Before we begin prayer today, I'd like to have everyone in the chambers and the galleries to join me for a moment of silence. Yesterday, Mayor Francis Slade's mother passed away. She was a loving mother and a loving wife and a great treasure for the city of St. Louis, and she will indeed be missed. So join me for a moment of silence. Giving all honor to God, Almighty God, source of all authority, we humbly ask guidance in our deliberations and wisdom in our conclusions. Amen. With that, we will spin with our regular order of business, take up a courtesy resolution calendar. I move for adoption of our courtesy resolution calendar and entertain a second about Alderman from the 20th. Alderwoman from the 19th, would you like to approach the dais?
Thank you very much. Good morning. We are in a position today to give graces, recognition, and honor to a young man that has spent all of his adult life in making sure that he prepared others to move forward and be great citizens with knowledge and the ability to do good on behalf of others. And simply put, educating this region. Because when we talk about it, we know Dr. Givens as being our close neighbor right here at Harris-Stowe University down the street. But of course, he put his first mark on Lincoln University and made sure that it was well established and moved forward to be one of the best universities that we have in St. Louis area and region. But when we look forward to where we're going to go, and I always tell my young people when I talk to them, you are now walking paths that have been laid for you. You are now in a position to make things even better. So you must look over your shoulder, you must always know your history, and you must always recognize and give respect to those who laid that path for you. And Dr. Givens, I give you all of my respect, sir. Henry Givens Jr. is retiring. I don't understand it, but that's what he chose to do. He's got some more left in him. And this resolution is a simple way for us to say thank you on behalf of this board and the city of St. Louis. And I do choose to ask the clerk to read the resolution, if you don't mind, please. Do you have it? Let me read it then. Thank you. I'll read it for you. Whereas we have been apprised of the retirement of Dr. Henry Givens Jr., and whereas Dr. Henry Givens Jr. was president of Harris Stowe State University for more than 30 years, and whereas Dr. Givens was educated in the St. Louis public school systems, earned his baccalaureate degree at Lincoln University, his master's degree at the University of Illinois, and his PhD at St. Louis University. Dr. Givens began his career as a teacher in the Webster Groves School District. Before leaving the Webster Groves Public Schools, he held the post of assistant to the superintendent of schools, and Dr. Givens then became the first African American to serve Missouri as Assistant Commissioner of Education, a position he held for 5 years. Dr. Givens' leadership at Harris Stowe greatly expanded its degree programs and now has 14 degree offerings in applied professional disciplines. And Harris Stowe State University under Dr. Givens tripled its student enrollment and has changed its status from college to university. Dr. Givens has served as chairman of the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. statewide celebration for Missouri from 1986 to 2011. And you must understand that we were recognized as having one of the best Martin Luther King celebrations in the country. He grew it, he nurtured it, he brought recognition to it, and it was outstanding. Dr. Givens is affiliated with numerous professional and social organizations and has received over 125 national, state, and local awards and recognitions. Dr. Givens is married to Belma Givens, and they have a daughter, a son, and 3 grandchildren. So now let it be resolved by the Board of Aldermen of the City of St. Louis that we pause in our deliberations today and recognize Dr. Henry Givens Jr. for his many contributions to the education of countless students, and I'm going to add, and adults, because he sure has guided many of them to be reasonable in their consensus and understanding of what was needed for this community in order to educate. Also, I wish him continued success, and we further direct the clerk of this board to spread a copy of this resolution across the minutes of these proceedings and to prepare a commemorative copy to him to be presented today. And one of the things, Mr. President, if you would officiate there for me, I'd like to ask if the colleagues would like to have this in vain.
It's been moved by the Alderman from the 20th, entertained second, seconded by the Alderman from the 18th. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, motion carries. Madam Clerk, please make note of that change. Prepare another copy of this resolution in bank.
So noted. Thank you, members of the board. Dr. Givens, I present you with this humble way of us saying that we recognize you for all that you have done, for the past, and most especially for the future, because you have left us in good standing. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, just a few words.
And I'll say something after you do
Okay.
your, oh, this is
Good morning, everyone. And what a great day this is. President Lewis Reed, Harris Stowe's Alderwoman Casey Starr Triplet, other distinguished members of the St. Louis Board of Aldermen, distinguished elected and appointed officials, ladies and gentlemen. Before I begin my brief remarks, I would like to take this opportunity to thank God for sustaining me throughout these many years in the great field of education, and I feel extremely blessed. I sincerely welcome this opportunity today to say thank you for the strong support of the St. Louis Board of Aldermen over the years. Your distinguished service to our city and to Harris-Stowe State University in particular has been nothing less than valuable and greatly appreciated. Words simply cannot express my deepest gratitude for this outstanding and historic resolution being presented to me today. The response and recognition I have received since my announcement to retire as president of Harris-Stowe State University for 32 years have been simply overwhelming, and I shall cherish this honor forever. I would be remiss if I did not mention how the St. Louis Board of Aldermen contributed greatly to the historic campus expansion at Harris-Stowe State University. In fact, Alderman Reed at that time was instrumental in making a significant contribution to the construction of the U.S. Bank entryway arch, the gateway to Harris-Stowe's main campus, which I am humbled to say this morning is now known as Givens Campus. Thank you. Thank you. It became my personal goal to give Harris-Stowe life and longevity, and to see diamonds in the rough from underrepresented populations become first-generation graduates. 90% of Harris-Stowe students are first in their families who ever attend or graduate from college. Harris-Stowe's mission of affordability, accessibility, and diversity has undeniably made it possible for many of these students to matriculate through the university's extensive disciplines and to become fruitful, productive citizens of our society. Finally, I extend my pledge to continue to support the St. Louis Board of Aldermen in its ongoing missions of helping create a more unified and impartial society throughout the St. Louis region and indeed the state of Missouri. May God bless each of you present, and may God continue to bless this rare Missouri jewel known as Harris-Stowe State University. My sincere thanks to each of you again for this wonderful and memorable honor. Go Cards!
Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Alderman from the 18th.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I would just like to thank Dr. Givens for his years of service. And building an institution that you have helped to build was certainly not an easy task. But somehow you were able not only to muster the energy to survive it and do it, but to do it with such style. You've been able to maintain that. Your contribution to our community certainly has been great and significant. You will know that for the rest of your years. As we move into the future, others will have the opportunity to enjoy the work and the foundation that you have laid. Others before us helped establish Lincoln, and you have helped to continue Harris-Stowe State College, or University, pardon me. The thing to remember is an African proverb that says that we're not the beginning nor the end, we are the continuance. And your continued work there has helped make it an even more greater place and more beneficial place for our community. Thank you for all your work, and enjoy your retirement.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Alderwoman from the 14th.
Good luck, Dr. Givens. As a proud 1975 graduate of the fledgling Harris Stowe State College, I have grown and become an alderman. After a career in St. Louis Public Schools, and it was, as you said, I was the first in my family to attend the college. Godspeed.
Alderman from the 1st.
It's, thank you, Mr. President, and members of the board. It's hard to find words to really describe Dr. Givens. When we think of Dr. Givens, we think of Harris Stowe, and we think of the masterful job that he has done in negotiating the capital improvement and the growth of the university, and working with the leadership at both the city and the state level. But the thing that impressed me most about Dr. Givens was the emergency situation that evolved in Jeff City at Lincoln University, where we needed someone to come into the university that had the skills and the ability to stabilize, to improve the mission statement, to do all of the things that we needed in order to save Lincoln University. And none other than Dr. Givens was called on to come and juggle this ball along with Harris. He's the only one I know in the history of the state of Missouri that was running 2 universities at the same time. And that should give us just a glimpse of just how magnificent and awesome Dr. Givens is. And it's hard, you know, to think of him as leaving, because he was the other half of academia for kids in this city that made them whole. When you look at the student body that graduates from Harris Stowe State College, there's nothing like it in the world in terms of first student graduating from families that had no college graduates in them. I would go as far as to say, and my data probably is wrong, is over 60% of the student body are first-time graduates in those families. So Dr. Givens, it's hard to see you go. It's going to be even harder to find somebody to replace you, because whoever's going to make those decisions is going to be looking back at you, trying to look forward, and that's going to be a hard job. So congratulations and good luck in your retirement.
Alderman from the 3rd.
Mr. President, members of the board, I would just like to say, it's no secret how old I am, but I went to school with his brother, who's older than him, Henry Givens. And the Givens family has been a participating member of the fabric of this society, even back there in the high school days, 1948. And most of you weren't even born back in 1948. But nevertheless, I just want to commend you. I remember when that was the Mill Creek area. I remember when they tore all of that stuff down over there. Everything except Vashon, the school that we used to rival in football and in track and everything else. He took that one building, which was a deserted high school, and turned that thing into a college, community college. Then became another fabric of the educational society of the state of Missouri. And now it's a university. It is so huge over there, and it just gives me great pleasure to say thank you. I didn't get a chance to tell you that when you named that dormitory after my son, Freeman Bowser Jr. There were so many people around you that I did not have an opportunity to come and personally thank you, but I'd like to thank you now. And for any of you who have children who are about to approach graduating from high school, I suggest you go over there, because it's a fabulous educational opportunity over there at Harris-Stowe State University. Now, thank you so very much for being what it is you are and what you have contributed back to this society.
Thank you.
Alderman from the 4th.
Thank you, Mr. President and members of the board. Dr. Givens, I compliment you on all the accomplishments that you've made throughout the years, but I would ask you a favor in open session while they're observing us that you use your influence before you leave for the Bahamas to enable me to sing the national anthem at the Martin Luther King celebration. Thank you, sir.
Any further discussion? Any further discussion?
I got a few words.
I'm just saying.
Okay. Mr. President, I was just sitting there reflecting just a little bit more about Dr. Givens, because he was there during a really tumultuous time in the city of St. Louis when we were settling the segregation case on behalf of the St. Louis Public Schools. At that point, I was president of the St. Louis Public School Board and understood some things, but still needed to know a lot. And I know how you supported Dr. Hammonds at that time. It was a rough time for us. But you also gave us some additional resources to help us with professional development for our teachers, and that was important too. So there are just so many little things, and if you try to talk about all of it, we would never get done. But so that means that there needs to be a book and some other things done on your behalf. And I wanted to share with you that I now have the honor of being the alderperson for Harris-Stowe University. Thank you. And I have learned very quickly that it's an extremely active campus. You make sure that you have cultural enrichment for the students. The 2 resident halls are beautiful, and the students are happy. I've already been on the campus 5 times in this 1 month for different programs, and I had a chance to kind of pick up on some of my Spanish that I forgot the other night at the Hispanic program. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
And Dr. Givens, in closing, I'd like to just take a moment of personal privilege and say, you know, borrowing from Abraham Lincoln's 1863 Gettysburg Address, where he said, "The world will little note nor long remember what we say here, but they'll never forget what you've done here." So thank you for everything that you've done.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Oh, this is wonderful. Thank you so much. This has been a great, great honor, and thanks to all of you who took the time to come this morning. Friday morning at 10 o'clock for many, kind of a layover day, but thanks to all of you who are here, and I'm grateful, very,
right.
very grateful.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you.
Been moved and seconded that we pass our courtesy resolution. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, motion carries. With that, return our regular order of business. Any introduction of honored guests? Any introduction of honored guests? Alderman from the 4th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll have as my honored guest today the Commissioner of Health, Ms. Melba Moore, Ms. Shirley Stennis of Ameren UE, and Mr. Gary Best of Parks, Recreation, and Forestry. Thank you.
Alderman from the 23rd.
Yes, I'd like to recognize Celeste Reeder from the Realtors as my special guest today.
Alderman from the 20th.
President, members of the board, it's my distinct pleasure today to introduce Dale Sweet, who is a resident right across from Gravois Park, and very involved in Gravois Park with the Court Watch program that they have there. So welcome him to the Board of Aldermen today.
Alderman from the 16th.
Thank you, Mr. President and members of the board. I would like to have as my special guest today Anthony Lancia and David Holmes with the Plumbers and Pipe Fitters.
Alderman from the 13th.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. I'd like to introduce my special guest, Tim Ogle, Special Assistant to Congressman Russ Carnahan.
Alderman from the 27th.
Thank you, Mr. President. As my special guest this morning, I'd like to have Demetrius Alfred of Local 73.
Any further introductions? Any further introductions? Alderman from the 10th like to wrap us up.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members of the board, as we gather here today, October 14th, this is National Dessert Day. That's why Mr. Best is dressed as a pistachio over there. And in honor of the day, it gives me great pleasure to introduce as my honor guest the man who invented the phrase, oh, I won't say that, Mr. Have Your Cake and Eat It Too, Fred Steffen.
Alderman from the 3rd.
I don't know whether anybody did it yet or not, but I'd like to introduce as my special guest, Gary Best. And if you wonder why our streets and our neighborhoods are looking better, it's because of Gary Best, the director of forestry.
Oh, yeah. Also have with us today Frank Kilcullen, and everybody knows who Frank is, plumber and pipe fitter, now retired, Frank Kilcullen. Alderman from Alderman from the 9th.
Mr. President, members of the board, I'd like to have from my honor guest today, Ronnie Hour, who's here today.
Oh, that's good. Alderman from the 13th. Recognized on approval of the minutes.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to approve the minutes of the September 30th meeting.
Moved by the Alderman from the 13th, seconded by the Alderman from the 12th. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, motion carries. Report of city officials.
Report of city officials can be found in sections A and B of the agenda and have been placed in all aldermen's mailboxes.
Dispense with line item 7. Would anyone like to take any bills off of any of our informal calendars? Would anyone like to take any bills off of any of our informal calendars? We will dispense with line items 8 through 10. First reading of board bills.
Board Bill 183, sponsored by Alderman Kennedy, and ordinance recommended and approved by the Airport Commission and the Board of Estimate and Apportionment, ratifying and adopting the actions of the mayor and the comptroller and accepting and executing certain grant agreement for a maximum federal obligation of $7,318,112 for reimbursement of direct costs associated with reconstruction of Taxiway Delta Phase 2 and Taxiway Echo Phase 2, containing an emergency clause. Board Bill 184, sponsored by Alderman Kennedy, and ordinance recommended and approved by the Board of Estimate and Apportionment, authorizing and directing the Director of Airports and the Comptroller to enter into and execute the fuel system lease and use agreement with the 20-year term between the city and STL Fuel Company, LLC, a state of Delaware corporation, at Lambert Airport, granting the lessee certain rights and privileges in connection with the occupancy and use of the leased premises, containing an emergency clause. Board Bill 185, sponsored by Alderman Kennedy, and ordinance recommended and approved by the Board of Estimate and Apportionment, authorizing and directing the Director of Airports and the Comptroller to enter into and execute the Lambert St. Louis Airport Luggage and Cart Rental Concession Agreement, AL 148, between the city and Flight Services and Systems, doing business as Easy Cart, containing a severability clause and an emergency clause. Board Bill 186, sponsored by Alderman Boyd, an ordinance which amends Ordinance 68536, Section 9, Paragraph 14.08.170 of the Excise Code, to amend submission and withdrawal of signatures from consent or protest petitions under this ordinance and containing an emergency clause. Board Bill 187, sponsored by Alderman Ogilvy, an ordinance dissolving the special allocation fund for the Scullin redevelopment project area, terminating the designation of a portion of the city as a redevelopment area. Board Bill 188, sponsored by Alderman Rhodey, an ordinance dissolving the special allocation funds for the Station G redevelopment area and terminating the designation of certain respective portions of the city. Board Bill 189, sponsored by Alderwoman Cruzen, President Reed, Alderman Rhodey, and Alderman Vaccaro, an ordinance relating to Forest Park recommended by the Board of Estimate and Apportionment and the Board of Public Service, providing for the execution and delivery of 2011 Supplemental Maintenance Cooperation Agreement between the city and Forest Park Forever with an emergency provision. Board Bill 190, sponsored by Alderman Rhodey, President Reed, Alderwoman Cruzen, and Alderman Vaccaro, an ordinance recommended by the Board of Estimate and Apportionment, authorizing and directing the comptroller to issue various requests for a proposal to secure bond counsel, financial advisors, underwriters counsel, and any other professional services necessary to prepare documents required to issue the bonds containing a severability clause. Board Bill 191, sponsored by Alderwoman Young, an ordinance approving a blighting study and a redevelopment plan for 210 North Tucker containing a severability clause. That's the extent of our first readings.
Reference to committee.
To the Public Safety Committee, Board Bill 186. To the Transportation Committee, Board Bills 183, 184, and 185. To the Housing Committee, Board Bills 187, 188, and 191. To the Parks Committee, Board Bill 189. And to the Ways and Means Committee, Board Bill 190. That's the extent of reference to committees.
Second reading.
The following board bills were reported out of the Public Safety Committee. Board Bill 29, Committee Substitute, sponsored by Alderman Kennedy, an ordinance prohibiting the issuance of any packaged liquor license for any non-licensed premises within the boundaries of the 18th Ward Liquor Control District and containing an emergency clause. Board Bill 176, sponsored by Alderwoman Howard, an ordinance prohibiting the issuance of any packaged or drink liquor license for any currently non-licensed premises within the boundaries of the 14th Ward Liquor Control District containing an emergency clause. Board Bill 179, sponsored by Alderman Ortman, Alderman Schmidt, and Alderwoman Howard, an ordinance pertaining to the liquor control law of the city, amending Section 4 of Ordinance 68536, setting forth an area which shall not be within the convention trade area of the city containing an emergency clause. That's the extent of our second readings.
Dispense with line item 14, perfection consent calendar.
Board Bill 167, sponsored by Alderwoman Florida, Alderman Schmidt, Williamson, Vaccaro, and Alderwoman Howard, an ordinance authorizing and directing the mayor to enter into and execute an intergovernmental agreement with amendment with Madison County, Monroe County, St. Clair County, St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department, Franklin County, Jefferson County 911 Dispatch Board, St. Charles County, and St. Louis County regarding regional interoperability in connection with P25-700/800 megahertz radio systems through the digital radio microwave system linking the City of St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department, Franklin County, Jefferson County 911 Dispatch Board, St. Charles County, St. Louis County with Madison County, Monroe County, St. Clair County, to the two regional network controllers and the Starcom 21 network controller containing an emergency clause. That's the extent of perfection consent.
Alderman from the 13th, you recognize on the perfection consent calendar.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members of the board, I move for perfection of the aforementioned bills on the consent calendar.
Moved by the Alderman from the 13th, seconded by the Alderman from the 20th. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, motion carries. We'll dispense with line items 16 through 18, actually 16 through 19. We'll dispense with line items 21 and 22, miscellaneous unfinished business.
We have none.
Announcements.
Tuesday, Public Safety Committee meeting, 10:30 a.m. in the Kennedy Room. Wednesday, Housing Committee meeting, 10 o'clock in the Kennedy Room. Thursday, Neighborhood Development meeting, 9 a.m. in the Kennedy Room. Friday, full board meeting, 10 a.m. in the chambers. That's the extent of my announcements.
Any further announcements? Any further announcements? Alderman from the 4th.
Thank you, Mr. President and members of the board. We are continually having a flea market on Martin Luther King between Sarah and Taylor Avenue starting at 10 a.m. tomorrow. We will continue throughout the season until the weather, as long as the weather permit. In the 4th Ward, that's the 4100 through 4500 block of Martin Luther King Flea Market. empty your garages and come on and join us and sell your items in the 4th Ward. Thank you.
Alderman from 27th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just got some information. I'm gonna have to call a meeting Monday, public safety, at 9 a.m. We still will continue to have our public safety meeting Tuesday. Also, the 27th Ward has its regular ward meeting Saturday at 10 a.m. at Bishop Willie Ellis Conference Center at 5939 Goodfellow. Thank you.
Alderman from the 14th.
Remind my constituents there is a neighborhood watch meeting at 6:30 at Long Community School, 5028 Marginford. Please enter through the rear. That'll be Thursday, October 20th. Thank you.
Any further announcements? Alderman from the 19th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to first congratulate Robbie Montgomery with Sweetie Pie's Restaurant for her launch of her new reality show. And I wanted to ask this community to support it. It premieres this Saturday on the OWN Oprah Network at 8 p.m. And I tell you, I had a preview of it last night at the premiere, and it is incredible. It is funny. It shows a lot of St. Louis and a lot of St. Louis people. So I really hope that we support her show, and the company that bought the show is already anticipating giving her another year. So let's make sure that we watch. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Alderwoman. Any further announcements? Any further announcements? Further announcements. Alderman from the 13th, you recognize on motion to excuse.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members of the board, I move to excuse the Alderman from the 2nd, 6th, 7th, and 17th wards due to necessary absence.
Moved by the Alderman from the 13th. I entertain a second on that motion. Seconded by the Alderman from the 12th. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Alderman from the 13th, you recognize on the motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to adjourn the meeting until Friday, 10 a.m., October 21st.
Moved by the Alderman from the 13th, seconded by the Alderman from the 27th. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? We stand adjourned.